My name is Sohil Shah and you're listening to Just Baatein.
Hey guys, welcome back to Just Baatein. My name is Aswin. It's a Sunday, which means we have a very special guest on. Now, I usually have Praatibh alongside with me, but he has some personal things to take care of, which is why he couldn't make it. And yeah, we could have rescheduled this, except we've been rescheduling this particular podcast with this particular guest for so long now that we had to get it done with. I mean, he's had so much patience with us, and I'm so glad because I was very desperate to have him on. Now, we have had two guests from the world of motorsports. One is Danny Moreno, who's an esports driver, and Theo Puchet, who's currently a Formula 2 driver. But this is a very special guest because he is one of our own. Now, like you can see, you can't see yet, but you will eventually see, he has a lot of things in his background. So, I might read a few things out because he's done quite a few things. So, he currently drives for Mumbai Falcons. He's the 2019 Formula 4 4C podium winner, 2019 F1600 vice champion, 2018 MRF FLGB 1300 national champion. He's won 10 races, 27 podiums, and 2 national championships. Man, that is a lot. Sohil Shah, so glad to have you, man. How's everything going?
All good. Everything's good, dude. How are you?
I'm great. Now, before we get into things and I ask you and bombard you with questions, did you know that you share your birthday with a 4 times Formula 1 champion?
Really?
Oh, you don't know who this is? Oh, this is a good one. Alright. I'll give you a hint. He's driven for Ferrari and he's from France.
Can you tell me when has he driven?
No, that's too easy, dude. That's too easy.
I don't know too many Ferrari drivers. I have no idea, dude.
You share your birthday with Alan Prost.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I must be reincarnated.
Exactly.
I hope.
That's not the only thing, though. You know, on your birthday in 1958, there was this infamous Cuban Grand Prix in Formula 1 where not only the race was infamous because a lot of tragedies happened during the race, a lot of crashes and stuff. But the day before that, Fangio was kidnapped.
Oh shit.
So, your birthday is a big deal in the world of Formula 1.
I don't like it though.
Yeah, except for the infamous
Except
stuff.
for the
Yeah.
Alan Prost
Yeah,
stuff, yeah.
Basic question, how did you get into the world of motorsport? In the country that we live in where cricket and football and if not badminton and stuff is very popular, how motorsport and how did you think of making that your career?
So as a kid, I was always fascinated by cars, and I went for go-karting once at the age of 9, which when you consider with the current Formula One drivers, it's quite
Yeah.
late. But the moment I sat in that car, I drove. I was just fascinated by everything, and I wanted to race from that point on. But obviously, Dad said it's too unsafe and everything. And as you must know, I was pretty weak at studies.
Oh yeah, so for those of you who don't know, we were in the same class in 11th and 12th, so that's how I know this man. But yeah, go on.
Yeah, so as you know, I was pretty weak at studies, so I had to find something different. So I told my dad that I want to race. I know it's unsafe, but I can take care of myself. And he said, give it a go, but I have to do all the research. So I did some research, found a couple of teams, and they just guided me through the process. And now I'm driving. I started driving with them, and then just branched out as and when the career progressed.
That's great, dude. But did you enjoy cars in general? Were you a car enthusiast before you got into motorsport?
I wouldn't say an enthusiast, but I love driving them. I
Right.
wouldn't go searching, like, okay, this car is like this, that car is like that. No, I wouldn't do that.
Fair enough. Now, you spoke about your dad having troubles with you choosing this path, but apart from your dad or your extended family and friends, did you face any difficulties in making them understand that this is what you want to do?
I mean, there's nobody else to really explain to why I want to do this. Like the others just have to deal with it. It's the family who you have to deal with. But
Yeah.
it took some time with my dad and parents. Like they were a bit skeptical because it's a pretty expensive sport, and they were like, okay, I'm not spending 5 lakhs, 10 lakhs, 15 lakhs a year
Right.
for you to race. But then once we got the first year, Dad didn't tell me this, but he told me this later. So after we finished the first year, everybody pretty much praised for the rookie season that I had.
Right.
And Dad just got, like, okay, he's done well. Everybody's praising. They're not simply saying it. So we can go forward. And the next year I won the championship in 2018.
Wow! Oh my God! What a turnaround.
Yeah.
So my next question is something related to this. What was that one moment? Not only you, Okay, we'll start with you. What was that one moment where you realized that this you can make it big? It's not only that you're interested in this, but you can make it big, and then your family. What was that one moment when they realized
Uh,
you've got it?
so in my first ever, my first national championship, the race, I took pole position in my first ever race and won that first race. So I
Jeez.
was pretty, I felt very motivated at that point. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I can do quite a lot in this. But obviously, we were still at a pretty low level. Like national level is the first entry level in India, at least.
Right.
So it was really pretty low. But I just knew that if I work hard enough, I can, make it up all the way through. And then dad came into it after I won the championship that year.
That's what a fantastic story. Now, you're a race car driver. A lot of people think the race car driver itself, he's the most, or he or she is the most important person. But I'm sure the importance of a team is highly up there too. So, what do you think, or how important do you think a team is for a race car driver? Like, if you were trying to tell it to a layman who does not know the sport, how important is it to have a good team?
I would say the driver is as good as any other mechanic on the team. Because
Right.
if the mechanics don't prepare the car for you, then you cannot perform the car. Like you can never outperform the car. You can
Right.
never the car can if the car can finish fifth or fourth, you can never finish in the top three. You can max to max finish fourth or fifth. The
Right.
best drivers will take the car to its potential. So if the car is not there, the driver is useless. So
Right.
a team, if the team does not work well in harmony amongst themselves, first of all, then the driver is just pointless. He's just there as a passenger in the team, just trying to do as much as he can.
That's so interesting because so I follow Formula One. That's the only motorsport I follow. But you can come across articles where they say, for example, Max Verstappen or George Russell, they outperform the car. Do you think that's they do that just to hype the driver up, or do they actually outperform the car?
I think when they say outperform the car, I think what they're trying to say is that that car shouldn't be there, but
Right.
they're driving in a way that they can make it to be there. So what I'm trying to say, I mean, it's completely contrary of what I said earlier. But what I'm trying to say is that the strategy that the team pulls out for the
Mm-hmm.
driver affects their result in F1, especially F1, because they have pit stops, right? Like at
Right.
the level that I'm currently at, there are no pit stops unless you have an issue in your car.
Mm-hmm.
So over there, you have pit stops for the tires, and that strategy makes such a big difference, especially if it's going from dry to wet or vice versa. You have to have that strategy on point. And if the team doesn't, the same like I said earlier, if the team does not work together, it's not going to happen.
See, that's a good point. Now, this is a question about what you have learned. So, as you guys can see, you can't hear if you're listening to this on the podcasting platforms, but as you can see, he has hundreds of trophies behind him. What's the
I've not
difference
counted.
between your first trophy that you got and the last one that you got? How much have you grown? What have you learned and what has changed mentally?
So surprisingly, the first trophy that I won was for the smallest championship in India, and it's the
Right.
biggest trophy that I have.
Wow.
Like I've had a like a piece of glass cut out just so that
Hmm.
the trophy can fit in there.
Oh, so it's that
It's
big.
that big. Yeah, I don't know if you
Oh,
can see, but it's like on the right hand side, like your
I can
left.
only see the
Yeah,
reflection.
you can
Yeah,
barely
yeah,
see. Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
But yeah, that's how big it is. But I can say that the value for the trophies have gone, like, even though they're small, even if they are small comparatively,
Hmm.
the value for that is a lot higher for me than the first one. I really
But
don't care about its size.
what have you learned in terms of just racing in general and about the sport from your first to the last trophy, or just race your first ever race to your last ever race?
Yeah, so I think the biggest difference that's come for me is that, of course, as an athlete for whatever sport it is, you tend to mature a lot quicker.
Right.
That's one thing that has happened to me. Like I've gone from being that one guy who would pull stupid pranks in class to having a clean room.
Right. Yeah, it's very clean.
The other things that I've noticed is that so I had when I was younger, I had a very massive anger issue. Like
Hmm.
I don't want to go into details, but it was pretty bad.
Right.
But and that kind of reflected while I was in the car, because after I kind of got the anger management sorted, it used to all come out while I'm either in the gym or while I'm in the car. So while I was in the car, I wouldn't think too much. I would just be like, how did he do? How can he do this? And just get aggressive
Yeah.
and start being
Yeah.
aggressive on track. But then, as I progressed, I met these people. I met drivers. I met international drivers, and I raced with them. I was their teammates in the X1 Racing League with Mumbai Falcons, and they taught me that being calm in the car is better than being aggressive on track. So if you're calm in the car, you were able to think, and
Right.
that pretty much helped me. I will not name the driver, but there was a recent race that I had
Mm-hmm.
in February, and I was leading the race, and there was this other driver who was like really close to me, and he was ready to overtake the moment he got the opportunity. But it was the longest race India has ever been have it had. It's like a 50.
Oh
It was
wow.
a 50-lap race. Uh,
Right.
but and the cars were so delicate that if you're a bit too aggressive on the apexes and stuff, the
Mm-hmm.
car may not make it on its own. So we had to be
Right.
yeah, that's how delicate these cars are.
What a way to put it. Right. Right.
Yeah, so in qualifying we'll just go over the curbs and everything as if
Mm-hmm.
there's no issue because it's qualifying. You need the
Right.
fastest lap. In the race, you would avoid even the smallest bump.
Mm-hmm.
So with this driver, what I noticed was like the first time he went to overtake, I was a bit aggressive at that point because the first time he's trying, and the moment I went a bit aggressive, he backed out immediately.
Right.
Because obviously it's a 50-lap race, it's a long race, so he needs to take care of his car as well. So every single time he tried to overtake, I just showed as if I was being aggressive, but in my mind I was very calm. Just show myself, and
Oh
he
right.
just backs out. So
Right.
I'm pretty sure if I wasn't calm in the car and I didn't learn all this, then that race was over for me the moment he made his move.
What do you think you would have done in your first season, in your first ever race, or the first few races? What do you think you would have
I was
done?
so angry I don't even remember.
Fair enough. Fair enough. That's wow. That's some anger you got there. Now
Yeah, that
moving.
is really bad.
How did just talking to people help you get away with it, or get away like maybe just push the anger aside, or how did you overcome this issue that you had?
Uh,
If
so I had most of this issue up to like 10th, 11th grade,
right,
uh, when I met you.
11th grade.
A little bit.
Oh,
A little bit.
that
You didn't see
right.
much of it, but yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, and thank God you didn't see much of it. We wouldn't be here
Yeah.
otherwise.
Probably no. I don't think so. You're still a good
Yeah, so
driver. So
8th, 9th, and 10th, so I live in this one building that's got quite a lot of flats. So we have a big group of people, like about
yeah.
15 people, at least then. Now everyone's gone for college.
Right.
Yeah, it's pretty lonely now.
uh,
So we had a 15 guys group and everything, and I stopped going down at one point, meeting them. I would sit at home, and my sister was pretty young, right? So there was nobody at home. Dad's at office, mom's taking my sister down, and I would just sit at home and I would sort of meditate and
wow. Right.
kind of like get if something recently happened that I got angry over, I'll just bring that situation in my head and think of what I could do differently to not be that angry, and rather than both of us getting angry, sort it out in a more civil way. Yeah, and it took me 3 years. It was at one point that the principal of the school call my parents to class,
Right.
or college or school, and are like, "Is your child okay? Because he doesn't talk to anybody. He just sits alone
Right.
and things like that." So because I wanted to stay away from people, right? I
Mm-hmm.
don't want to get into fights and I don't want to be like that. I hated myself. I still think about
Right.
and I regret everything that I've done. So
Yeah.
I took my time. Yeah.
But the fact that you say you regretted it, the fact that you took initiative and you have come so far, I mean, that's fantastic in itself, right? I mean, is there a part of you that's very proud of yourself too with that regret that you have?
Yeah, no, I don't think about that life anymore.
Fair enough. That's the best way to go ahead. The first question in this segment is, what's the biggest stereotype? And I think I know what you're going to get at, but what's the one biggest stereotype that people have about the sport and people have about you?
Why do you need to go to the gym? I
Right.
mean, you're just driving a car. We're
Yeah, I
moving left
figured.
and right.
Yeah. I
So
remember
that,
few of us in the class
yeah,
picking you up on that too. Yeah.
yeah. Why do you go to the gym?
Right. Yeah, but what's the misconception though? I mean, it is a very dangerous sport and it takes a lot of out of you physically. Can you give us an example of like how how it feels for you to be in the car. Of course, it's nothing compared to what it actually feels like. But yeah, what does it feel like in the car?
So I think most of these people who make these comments, like why do you go to the gym,
Mm-hmm.
come from a road car perspective, where the clutch is very light, the brakes have a booster in it, so you just touch it and it just stops, and the steering wheel has power steering, and none of that we have it. No, we have none
Right.
of that. Our clutches, the clutch will weigh about like 20 kilos every time you press it. Your brake can
Shit.
weigh. So I think this is what I've heard. I'm not too sure, but the Formula One brakes weigh up to 145 kilos every time you press it. I'm not too sure.
Right.
Don't quote me on that.
Yeah.
But I remember driving the Formula 4 car, and it was like pushing a wall.
Wow, right. And you have to brake and you have to use that to
Yeah,
brake. Right.
exactly. So we get our measurements in bars,
Mm-hmm.
the unit bar. I don't really know what that converts to.
Right, right.
But yeah, so I would hit 90 bars, 90 95 bars initially, and the other guys, the guys who were hitting like proper amounts of brake, were hitting at least 110 bars.
Oh, wow. Oh, right. So that, oh my God.
Yeah, my tiny legs, a bit issue.
This is why you go to the gym.
Yeah,
This
this
is
is why I
why.
go to the gym. But
The
yeah,
second.
towards the end, I got to like 105, 108 bars.
So do you
Yeah.
measure this during the race or is it off season stuff?
No, so we get there's a data logger that comes in the
Right.
car, like inbuilt. So
Oh,
when
right.
you just connect it to the laptop and you bring the data and you have
Right.
softwares. Yeah.
Haha. Now the second question is, have you now this might be ridiculous, but I was just very curious. Like during a race, like you said, 50 laps, it's a very long race. Have you ever caught yourself thinking about something else completely different? And then you have to remind yourself to, damn, I'm driving.
Okay, I don't know if this exactly answers your question or not. But so we don't have radio in these cars, right? So after there was one pit stop in this race car for fuel because the fuel wouldn't go at the till the end. So the guy who I was fighting with that race pit about 2 laps or 3 laps earlier than me, and we had a much quicker pit stop. But at that point in time,
Right.
I didn't know that. So I'm just thinking out of the pits: am I first or am I second? Every time I'd pass the pit lane, I'll be like
Oh,
first or
right.
second. I like signal to the team: am I first or second? Like this, but they wouldn't reply to me. Because I don't think they understood that I was trying to ask whether I'm first or second. Uh,
Isn't it difficult though, like without a radio? Oh, so wait. So you had to decide for yourself when to
Whether
come
I'm
into
first
the
or
pit,
second. No, so
and
for that we had a board. So we had three batches.
oh, right,
So we were like
right.
7, 8
Mm-hmm.
drivers. So we had three batches. Okay, batch one they will show on board. Batch two will show on board. But for
Oh,
this, I don't think they understood what I was trying to ask. So nobody replied, and I'm panicking over there in the car. I'm
right.
like, what am I first or second? And I started making mistakes left, right, and center. And then my coach realizes that I'm making too many mistakes. He comes, he just shows one thumbs up, and then I calm down. But
Oh, so thank God you calmed down though.
yeah, yeah.
Now, what's the best memory you've had in the motorsport world except off track? Meeting someone or just watching something. What's the best memory I've had?
I don't know about other sports and all, but at least for motorsport, it's a small fraternity in India. So no matter how hard we fight on track, we come out, we're like, dude, good race, man. And that's just the best part about it. Like everybody's
Right.
like good race and everybody's talking normally as if nothing ever happened. So on track just stays on track and off track becomes an off track thing that we share. We're all very good friends off track. We go for, okay, I don't, but like these guys go for drinks
Right.
and stuff. But yeah, so it's just you look at it and you're like, is this even a sport? Are these guys
Right.
even like playing for
Right.
for winning, or are these just friends?
But on track, then you have your game face on
Yeah,
and
I
you
mean,
want to
you
win.
you play cricket a lot, so you know
Right.
that you
Yeah.
start sledging the other team.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. This off, that off.
Yeah.
Yeah, go back to your go back to your mom's place.
Well done on the sensor, man. That was so subtle, but yes, we do that sometimes. Now, so one of the reasons why I really wanted you to come on is because when I was going through your Instagram page, and this was long ago, even before we started this podcast, was you're one of those few guys who have posts on Instagram about you crashing or just going off track or making a mistake. And that's a very rare sight to see. I mean, even if I do follow some MotoGP drivers and Formula One, and even though they put up their crashed car and whatever, it's not about the crash really, but your posts are very much about the crash and very much about how dangerous the sport can be. So what's your thinking about posting those mistakes? Because not everyone would, right?
So if I were to be completely honest, that actually never came to my mind that okay, it's a crash. Why should I upload it? It's sensitive content. But uh, I
No, more
always
than
went by
sensitive
like,
content, it's you making a mistake of a sort.
yeah, I just needed content to upload. That really was the motive behind it.
I made the question sound so deep. Great. No, but didn't you ever think that what if people think I'm not a good driver just because I'm crashing and stuff?
No, everybody makes mistake. I mean,
That's
it's just
true.
natural, right? There was one post that I'd made on my story, not as a post of a crash, where I flipped. So that was like proper sensitive content. So I didn't
Right.
upload it. I posted as a story, and it was of this go-kart track, which again I will not name. But the off-track parts of those track were very dangerous. So I had a brake failure in that, and because of the brake failure, I went off, and there was a ditch, and after the ditch, there was a jump. So the cart went down, and then it jumped, and then it flipped. So yeah,
And
so
what were the consequences on your body?
one scratch.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, shit, thank God for
Yeah, and
that.
it was a go-kart. It wasn't even a car. It was a go-kart.
Now, because you talked about the accident, this wasn't part of the questions, but what's the worst accident or the injury you've had?
I've actually not been injured
Oh,
of
that's
the
great.
crash.
That's great. Fingers crossed. We'll move
Yeah,
on. I hope
just
that never
touch wood.
happens. Yeah, that's what. That's what. Yeah. Now, the last question in this segment is: what's one real life battle in any motorsport that you would want to live? That you would want to be part of that battle?
Senaprast.
Oh, that's beautiful. Yeah, it's fine.
Always.
Yeah. But you didn't even know when his birthday was, so then
Yeah,
we'll have to
tough
rethink
one.
that.
I just want to be part of that FI meeting at Suzuka after
Oh
that
my
crash.
god, yes, yes. Oh my
I
god.
just want to watch the whole thing.
Wow. Yeah, I'll be fly. I would want to be a fly in the wall in that room. Yeah,
Yeah.
that'd be great. Now, moving on from the segment, during the lockdown, I don't know how much you actually drove and how much you had practice, but was it, how did you keep yourself motivated when you couldn't do it? When you couldn't, first of all, even if it's cricket, it sucks to not be able to play, but I know I can work.
1 minute.
Yeah.
I have this one.
Whoa!
So this goes ahead, connects to my computer, and I just play online games with my friends the whole day.
What a way to answer it. For a second, I thought someone rang the bell or someone knocked the door. Oh, that's so
And it's
beautiful.
hard to explain. That's the simplest way. I just show it to you.
Right, fair. Is
I
that a
feel like there's a
fanatic
sim.
wheel
No,
or?
it's a Thrustmaster.
Oh yeah. Oh, I like them.
Yeah.
I don't have them, but I do like them.
You're in
Is
Bangalore,
it?
right? Come over one day.
I will. I will. Sure, sure. But was it just games and playing online that kept you motivated? Because how much of online game can you
I
play?
think a lot of that motivation came from this one particular driver, Arjun Maini. You must have heard of him.
Right?
So
Yeah.
he's another Indian driver, and I met him during the X1 Racing League, raced against him in the X1 Racing League, and we became pretty good friends. His brother, Kush Maini, was in my team. So
Right.
we became very good friends. So we would come online and I would play with him. So there was just so much to learn by just playing online with him that,
Oh.
I was learning while I was not driving. So it was like
Right.
that.
Oh,
So
so it's a
he'd
lot
watch
of
me drive.
playing
And
online with
yeah,
race drivers.
yeah, not just alone.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Yeah.
That will be lonely. I mean, do it,
Yeah.
guys. Do whatever you want to. But like you said at the start, there's so much pressure in this sport, especially if you're from India, because there's a lot of. I mean, in the sport itself, there's a lot of money that you need to invest, and in India, where there isn't a lot of infrastructure, I'm sure there's a lot of pressure that comes on you between races, before races, or even off season, on season. Just in general, who's your biggest support system? Who do you go to? It can be anyone. Who do you go to? Just talk things out.
Dad,
Really?
just Dad.
That's sweet. Does he follow motorsport? Does he follow races?
He watches F1, F2, F3. That's it. He doesn't follow as much as I do, like the rest of it, because his dream is just F1 straight. Uh, but obviously it's a bit a high side on the money, but
It's a long
but
climb
yeah,
also,
yeah,
yeah.
it's not a bad place to look at.
So he follows F1, F2, F3, and you said he doesn't follow as much as you do, which
Yeah,
is already
so
a lot. So
yeah,
how much do you follow?
so I follow Formula One, Formula Two, Formula Three. There is World Endurance Championship.
Right.
Then there is a European Le Mans Series. There's a GT World Challenge. So I don't I love endurance racing as well. So these
Oh,
races last anywhere between 4 hours to 24 hours.
right.
So I think it's coming soon only. I think 16, 17, 18, or just 1 week after that. I
Hmm.
think around that time, there's the 24 hours of Le Mans that's gonna be
Yeah.
happening.
Right.
So I love endurance races. There are like three drivers involved, 4 hours long of a straight drive, and then you switch the drivers. It's just crazy mayhem. You don't know who's gonna win till the last minute.
And it's just mad, like just thinking
Exactly.
about driving in top speed for so long.
Exactly.
Jesus Christ. Now
It
I've
makes me
asked,
tired already.
yeah, thinking about it, but is it something that you will do? Is it something you'll do?
I would love to. I don't mind, but I'll have
Yeah.
to spend more hours in the gym.
Yeah, that's very true. He's talked about going to the gym a lot, by the way, in 11th and 12th grade, a lot, and we always picked on him for that. But yeah, whatever. We asked this to Danny Moreno, who's of course an esports driver, and also Theo Pusher, and I asked him about what their mentality is like. So I want to know what your mentality is like, because I asked them, do you get on just before the lights go out, just before the race starts? Do you believe that you're the best on the field, on the track, or do you believe that you need to give your best? How's your mentality like before the race starts? And do you have any superstitions and rituals that you follow?
I don't actually. Dad has one, so
For
it's
you?
not, yeah, but it's not really a
Right.
superstition or something. But just before I go out of the pit lane for the outlap,
Mm-hmm.
he'll always just give me one high five and he'll be like, "Enjoy."
Hey,
That's it.
that's
And
sweet though.
it's happened a couple of times. The times that he's missed out on doing that due to XYZ reason, I've not performed well.
So he's always
So
he
yeah,
gotta
so
do
that's
it.
why it's become kind of a thing for him.
Right.
But
Mm-hmm.
as far as mentality, like when I go on the outlap, I'm just focused on how the car is. If it's performing fine, everything's good. Just to make sure
Mm-hmm.
that 10 minutes, 5 minutes we have on the grid, I don't have to tell anything to the mechanics.
Right.
And once the formation lap starts, I'm again just focused on getting the tires ready, brakes ready up to
Mm-hmm.
temperature. Um, and I'll kind of like strategize all of my things before I get in the car. Okay, I'm starting this position, which is not bad, not good, whatever it is. I aim to be at this position at the end of lap one.
Right.
And how am I going to do that? So just come up with like 10 different strategies. Obviously, none of them go as per plan, but just come up with one in case if recall, if I need one. And on the formation lap, I'll just recall like just keyword out of every thing, like okay, this strategy I have to do this main, this strategy this main. And when we're waiting on the grid, it's like a 20-25 car grid usually. So if you're in the top 10, it's quite a bit of a wait for the last car to come park in the correct spot.
Right.
So at that point, you're just breathing. At least I am breathing heavy, like not deep breaths, trying to calm myself, focus myself for the lights. And I don't really talk to myself that much before the race,
Right.
but I try to keep myself distracted before the lights go
Oh,
out.
so that you don't think, Lord?
Exactly, because I tend to overthink the smallest of situations.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why is he not talking to me?
Right. Imagine on a race car. Why is he not
Yeah, why
talking
is
to
he
me?
not talking to me? No, I just give an example. Like that's a small of
Yeah.
a thing I might tend to overthink. So I don't want like, okay, if the car is not feeling perfect due
Mhm.
to X reason, I don't want that to be stuck in my head, and I want to come over it and like get past that issue and drive with that issue and still perform at the best. So I try
That's.
to distract myself, and the lights
I
come
think.
on, and then I'm just focused on getting the timing right with my reaction.
Yeah, I think that's a very healthy way to look at it and how to prepare yourself. But this is a very bad question. But if you were to answer yes or no, do you think you're the best on track every time the race starts?
I know it.
Nice. Oh, great, great. I love this question. It's not a bad one. Good one. That's great. Now, you spoke about endurance racing and compare that to Formula One. How does your body, like, what's the impact on your body? How is it different from driving a Formula One car and driving for 24 hours? Of course, you're not the only one driving for 24 hours, but that endurance race.
I think the biggest difference is not physically, it's mentally. Because in a format like Formula One, the race, okay, it's still pretty long. It's about an average 1.5 hour long
Mm.
race. And the shortest endurance race you can do is 4 hours. Or in some categories, even 3 hours, but that's still almost double
Yeah,
the average
right.
of Formula One. So the biggest thing I would say will be the mentality because in Formula One you can attack from the get-go. You get the position and you're already up there. And there's a lot of physics that goes into it. And you would have heard on the radio saying that, okay, I'm struggling to keep up with him, even
Right.
though he's
Yeah,
clearly in a faster car.
yeah,
Like you can say Alonso Hamilton in
yeah,
Hungary, if you saw the race.
yeah.
He's struggling to keep up in a much faster car. So that there's a lot of physics that goes into which I don't want to get into right now. But in endurance racing, that effect that the Formula One cars have behind following another car is not as much. So
Ah. Mm-hmm.
your 4 hour long race can be divided into four different halves. And say you're starting fifth, for example, you your three drivers, two drivers have the pace to win the race.
Right.
You'll be like, after the first hour I want to be in this area, after the second hour I want to be here. So towards the end you have 4 hours to progress towards that win, so you'll be a bit more
Right.
cautious, a bit
Mm-hmm.
more a bit more aware of your surrounding. Just make sure you're not making mistakes and things like that. Formula One, obviously you don't want to make mistakes, but
Mm-hmm.
you can afford to push a little harder when you don't need to.
Right. Because it's a much
So
shorter time
exactly,
duration.
exactly. It's a shorter time. I wouldn't say that. So why I say physically it wouldn't be that different is because here you're driving for 1.5 hour in a Formula One car at about taking corners at around 250 kilometers
Right.
stops. So there's a lot of lateral gravitational force on your neck and your body. So if
Mm-hmm.
it's still physically heavy for 1.5 hours, and these cars not as much, but pretty high
But yeah.
again. Like yeah. But then again, you're in the car for only about an hour or max to
Mm-hmm.
max 2 hours.
Right.
So.
Makes sense. Now, you were talking about the physics. Now, you as a driver, just you personally, not anyone in general, do you like learning about how race cars work or how your car works? Or is it something that's fed to you by your mechanics? Do you like learning about it by yourself, or how do you go about learning your car?
Yeah, I mean, eventually you have to learn about it, but yeah, I do like learning about it. So, uh, if you tell me to explain thermodynamics to you, I will not be able to. Even though I'll understand the same thing in racing terms, I will
Mhm.
understand the whole thing. But if you want me to explain it in the way
Right.
the
Yeah.
teachers want you to, I will not be able to.
Thank God
Because
for that.
yeah, so any physics or any sort of study material that comes for racing, I know it by heart. It's
Right.
because I'm more of that visual learner, right? So
Mm-hmm.
by watching these cars, I can just the kind of imagine how the wind is flowing through the car. There's a winglet that's a bit like this, so it's going to create a vortex coming out of it. And then if it's like this, then if it's slightly tilted, then it's going to create the vortex, but also push it away. So
Right.
these kind of small things I can understand and explain. But when you tell me to do it in theory, sorry, dude,
Yeah,
I'm a
I
leave.
mean, as long as you know this, when you were explaining this to me without taking names, I was just thinking you explaining this to me while a class teacher in 11th and 12th just watching. She'll be shocked that you can explain this because, yeah, I mean, like you said, you are a visual learner, and
I
in
was, yeah.
school we didn't do
And in school, I was
anything.
pretty weak.
Not just, I mean, all of us were. We were in that class
Yeah.
for a reason, remember? How do you set your goals in general? Season wise, race wise, track wise?
Yeah, like I said, none of these plans will go as per the plan
Yeah, right.
in motorsport because it's not. It's dependent on the other five, six cars around you as to what you
Mm-hmm.
do.
Right.
But otherwise, if I were to, plan something and go, I would just I would have a goal that I want to finish in this part of the race. And
Mm.
as long as my car is performing and I'm performing, I want to be there. So at the end of the day, if I can make it, I'll always try for it. But I will not do something stupidly risky, like go for a very late dive on the last corner, last
Right.
lap, or
Mm.
something. If it's possible, it's possible. Otherwise, just hold because you'd rather get those 4 points rather than 0 points, or how many ever points are you getting
That's
rather than
true.
just crash out. Because it happened to me once, and I learned it the hard way.
At least you did learn. But oh, so
Yeah.
I wasn't going to ask you this, but because you said this, you said you don't want to think of a position which your car can't get, or along the lines of that. How is it? So, if you, again, I'm going to take Formula One examples, but think about George Russell and Sebastian Vettel. They want to win races, but they can't because of the car. And you, as a race driver, when you know you're going into the track, when you can't potentially win because of the car that you have, how do you race? Like, what keeps you motivated? Because in the end, you race to win, right?
Short story. So this was in January. My coach, about 3 weeks before that race, was supposed to drive. I wasn't supposed to drive, but in
Oh,
the 3 weeks before the race, the round one of the same championship, he fractured his hand in a crash.
right.
So the team calls me to come and replace him. And I've never driven on the track, so they give me the practice. I'm on pace. I'm as quick
Mm-hmm.
as the coach. And after that, he comes. He says he will drive. He will try driving because so the fracture is so bad on his right arm over here, in this area. There were, I think, 3 plates and 2 screws that had gone in.
Wow. And
So
he wanted to
yeah,
drive after that.
yeah, he was ready to drive, and he drove and he won. Yeah, he
Wow.
did. He still
What?
won with that arm.
Right.
But so then I was just there for a random reason.
Right.
Now I'm not required here. So I just go to the team manager. I'm like, is there any spare car you can pull out from somewhere? They did manage to find one, but that car was 20 kilometers slower on the straights.
Yeah.
It wouldn't turn properly.
Mm.
Um, so on the straights, there was once this happened once. One guy just goes past me. He shows me a thumbs up. Thanks for letting me pass.
Right.
I cried after that race. Because he's like, thanks for letting me pass. And I'm like, no, I'm full throttle. I can't go faster. So I'm
Right.
just sitting in the car. Sitting in the car, I'm almost cried. I came out of the car. Dad's like, what happened? I just do this hand signal and walk away. Um, I sit in the driver's area. I remove my helmet, remove my glove suit, whatever. And I'm just sitting like this, and all of a sudden, I just go into one big crying session. But then next race, there was one race left. I was stern on not doing that next race because I'm like, I
Oh.
don't if I'm not able to help the team,
Right.
there's no point
Right.
because
Right.
I'm a second off because of how bad the car was.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it's not like I was slow. In a different car on the same day, I was as quick as anybody
Oh
else,
yeah,
if
yeah,
not
yeah.
quicker,
Right.
if not quicker. Um, so I was in a very bad mood and all that. So they just told me just go out and drive. And for some reason, I was able to do better than the other races because I was just that much motivated that I want to race. I'm not letting you go. Um, and I did better. And the best part is that 2 weeks later, during that 50 lap race,
Mm-hmm.
I got a good car because obviously I'd called for that seat,
Mm-hmm.
and I set the track record.
Are you serious?
I was so pissed.
Oh my god, dude! What? Now
But
this is a
it's
turn.
an unofficial track record though. It's not official.
Still, leave. I was gonna swear, but leave that aside. Dude, that's fantastic, man. Maybe, yeah, maybe that's what these drivers need—a slower car to burn something inside them. Oh, that is great.
Yeah, the anger management burns everything inside me and it just comes out.
Smart. That's nice. Now, you said you showed your hand signal to your dad, and I think this is one question that I want to ask, just so that I don't know, to sake of my curiosity, I guess. But has there been a time while talking about a race or talking about your race where things have gotten feisty between you and your dad, where you have disagreed?
Multiple times.
Yeah.
Multiple times. So this is a very common occurrence that happens. So for example, I'm at this track, okay, and I'm driving, but there's one particular corner that I'm trying 3, 4 different things and it's not working.
Right.
So sometimes dad is right, but most of the time he comes up with the most stupidest idea, which I don't blame him wrong for. He's trying. He's trying to help
Yeah.
me
Yeah.
out. But
Hmm.
I will tell him that no, that will not work because X reason. And he'll just be like, no, why don't you try it? I'm like, no, I know it will not work.
Right.
And he's like, just try it. So we'll be after this try, don't try for 15 minutes till the next
Mhm.
session. And I go out, I try it, I either half spin or I'm just extra slow.
Right.
And I come in, I show him the video. I'm like, this is exactly what he said, isn't it? He's like, yeah. What did I tell you? So it's just
Right.
that's just a very common occurrence,
I
but
love
it's
this.
fine. It's nice.
Yeah, it's nice. I mean, it's family. I mean, in the end,
Yeah,
he is your
he's trying.
father.
He's
Yeah,
yeah.
he's trying
He's trying to
exactly.
help me. He's not doing something wrong. He's trying to
Yeah,
help,
he's trying.
and
So,
that's actually a really good thing about him because he's just trying to support me whenever he can.
mhm. do you
If I'm
think do
not,
you think
yeah,
things would have been different if he wasn't, if he didn't support, if he did not support you, if he
massively,
supported you, but just in silence, if he didn't come on
massively,
track, if he didn't give you that high
massively,
five. Yeah.
massively. Because the support. So when if you win a race,
Hmm.
you come out and there's nobody to celebrate with you. Photographers around you, and your mechanic standing next to you. He congratulates you, and then you just wait for another hand.
And that's your dad.
Yeah, and that's my
That's
dad.
that's great, dude. That's a lovely dude to have, and I hope you guys stay together. I mean,
Oh
not stay together,
yeah.
but stay in the same sport for a
Yeah.
long, long time. Now, this is my last question. This is how we have started to end all our podcasts. I mean, the last two. But are you a tea or a coffee person?
Tea. So I had this one very weird obsession with tea.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, with coffee when I was young. And eventually I just stopped liking it. I don't know why.
Good, bad. That's a
And
good.
then some of my friends asked me to taste tea. I tasted tea. I'm like, that's the new drink now.
Hold on to tea. I hope you never get bored of tea. Sohil, thank you so much for joining in. I think I took 45 minutes if I'm not wrong, but thank you so much for joining
I
in.
was
I
free.
could have. Oh yeah, by the way, so even though I told you in the start that we rescheduled a lot of times, he traveled yesterday, he's traveling tomorrow. So the fact that he's taken so much of his time for us, it's a big deal for me because I was very desperate to bring you on. So thank you so much
Yeah.
for coming. Thank you
No
so much for
worries. No
taking
worries.
your time.
Anytime.
Guys, if you want to follow him, we'll put his Instagram on in the description below. He also has a website of his own. So I'll also put that in the description below.
Updated.
Yeah, I was wondering if it's updated or not. But yeah, he does have it's a beautiful website though. So you guys know what we do. Wednesday is a cricket episode, Sunday is a podcast with guests from all around the world in all walks of life. Thank you, Sohil, again for joining in.
No worries. No worries. Anytime.
Peace.
Yo, thanks for tuning into the latest episode of Just Baatein. We hope you enjoyed it and that it left you inspired. Thanks for all your support, and maybe you could support us just a little more by maybe going to our Instagram and Twitter and giving us a follow there. And also you can listen to us on all podcasting platforms, right from Spotify to Apple Podcasts to Google Podcasts. Cheers.